What's up, everybody out there in cyberspace? It's your boy Craig with Josh and Phil, and you're watching the Fantasy Football Frenzy Show. In the past, we've done top 5 position rankings, a bunch of different stuff, top big boards and stuff. Today, we're going to do things a little different. We're going to start off with top 5 defenses for your fantasy team. Then we're going to transition into top 15 wide receivers and running backs because you're going to get the most points and most value at that position. They're a very hot commodity, both of them, so we figure we might as well go a little deeper with our info. And then later on in the show, we're going to do my favorite part of the show, the favorite part of the whole fantasy football thing for me, with definitely strategizing your draft, making sure you get the most for where you are and everything. We'll go over a few different strategies to help you guys succeed in your draft. As I said before, we're doing the top 5 defenses first. The defense in fantasy luckily does include special teams, so there's a lot to factor in when you're picking a good defensive team. They may not give up a lot of points, but you also want to get the touchdowns, the picks, and everything. It's kind of like the Jets. They had a great defense last season. They don't get you the big stats like the Eagles defense did last season, even though they gave up more points. So fantasy defense and real defense are a little different, and these guys are going to explain to you why their pick should be in the top 5 defenses taken off the board in later rounds. So who should we start with? Who wants to go first? Start with Josh. We always start with Phil. All right, we'll start with Phil. Josh doesn't go first.
Okay, coming in at number 9 for the exact reason of 5. I mean, what day is today? It hurts to poop. Number 5, I have the Philadelphia Eagles defense. Yeah, nope. The exact reason you mentioned, special teams. Deshaun Jackson, he returns it a lot. Pretty good punt returner. We don't know about wide receiver this year, but Number 4, we have the Green Bay defense. Like the Packers, they have a tight defensive core running their 3-4. They also play the Lions twice a year. Always good. Number 3, we have the Niners defense. And if we look here, San Diego, San Francisco. They have a pretty weak schedule. Play Kansas City. They got Seattle twice. Oakland. Denver, that's a question mark. Yeah, St. Louis, Tampa Bay. A lot of easy games for them. It's going to be a solid defense, a pretty good defense with some gay guy in the middle. Linebacking. Lead linebacks. He's lineback guy. Lineback guy. Number 2, I have the Baltimore Ravens defense. Another really tough defense. They have a pretty easy schedule, I would say. Where's Baltimore? B. Yeah, I like B. They started off the season against the Jets. Great defense, not great offense. Bengals, I'm not sold on them. Cleveland, twice a year. That's always fun. Denver, again, question marks. They play Buffalo, Tampa Bay. They play a Pittsburgh game without Roethlisberger there. Pretty good game. Pretty potent defense. Number 1, the Jets. Can't really argue with that. Rex Ryan, pretty good defensive genius. Got a lot of tough games, but, Revis Island, it's going to shut him down for you. Josh?
Thank you, Philip. Defense is pretty important, I would say. I wouldn't go too early to pick defense. What? I wouldn't go too early to pick defense, but defense can easily win you a championship. I know about that last year. I had a good defense. Number 5, I have the Niners. They were last year's number 1D in fantasy, but they really weren't that good. They're up-and-coming defense with obviously the best middle linebacker in the game. Not Phil Wilson. I'm not even going to say his name because everyone knows him. And they have a pretty good head coach, Mike Singletary, who is a pretty good defensive player at his time. And he has great schemes and really helps with the personnel. So, 49ers, number 5. Number 4, I put the Cowboys at 4. They were second best in scoring defense last season, but only 7th in fantasy. They had a 17-sack decrease from 2008, where they led the league in sacks. That they should definitely have more sacks this season. DeMarcus Ware had no sacks for the first, I think 6 games or something like that. So they should definitely do better in fantasy. Number 3, I have the Eagles. I had the Eagles last season. They had some pretty ridiculous weeks. Our league had, you could get more fantasy points defensively than other leagues. That's just how the league rules were. So, in some weeks they had they had 45 in the first week. So that pretty much maybe win the week. Okay. No defense blitzed more than the Eagles did last season. And they also lost middle linebacker Stuart Bradley last season. And he's obviously their best middle linebacker. So he'll be back. That helps. They had 7 double-digit games last season for ESPN standard. For me, I think they average almost 12 a game. So they get a lot of sacks, interceptions. And interceptions actually could be maybe not so great of a category this season. They lost Sheldon Brown. They traded him to the Browns, I'm pretty sure. And they have Ellis Hobbs, who's not great to play against Asante Samuel, but Asante Samuel is one of the best corners in the league. So Eagles should be up there again. Number 2 are the Ravens. Rex Ryan's old team still has obviously amazing defense. You know the obvious names, Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, and Ed Reed, who I just found out is on the PUP list, physically unable to perform. So we may be playing the first, I think it's at least, I don't know, he's not playing the first game, definitely. But the most important player on the Ravens defense, Oregon nose tackle, Haloti Ngata, Ngata, pretty awesome spelling of the last name. He just really stops the line and just really allows Ray Lewis to do what he does. They have great depth. They drafted 2 great rookies in Texas, Sergio Kendall, and Alabama's Fat Cody. And they're very consistent, probably the safest defensive pick. And number 1, obviously my favorite team, this is pretty easy to have them, Jets. They were number 2 fantasy-wise last season. But they did score fewer than 6 in 7 games last season, which is kind of not great. Like Philip said, they do have a pretty tough schedule. But with Rex Ryan, the amazing personnel, you got to expect them to do maybe even better. Bart Scott really didn't do that great last season, but Revis, obviously, and Revis even had that many interceptions last season. Where is it? I have a good stat. Oh, despite last year's success, it could do much better. They had the second most blitzes, but they only had 32 sacks, which is really low. I think number 1 was 58. So Craig is really gay, and defense, Jets defense. I mean, they gotta be number 1. So, Gregory.
Yeah, since later on we're going to be talking about draft strategies, this one really doesn't come in to our schedule or whatever, since we're talking about defenses. How do you guys feel about possibly drafting multiple defenses? I know a common strategy is rotating defense all the time. What do you guys think about that?
I don't think it's a bad idea, drafting multiple defense. Maybe not drafting, but definitely picking up multiple defense off waiver wires. Defense is something that's it varies year to year. You don't really know per se. Everybody thought the Titans defense was going to be great last year. Didn't turn out too well. So yeah, it's something that definitely you could rotate defense off waiver wires, much like I did last year. Josh.
Thank you, Philip. I would say don't pick another defense unless your defense is probably not in the top 5. I mean, it matters how your tiers are. But if you like your defense, you think you're going to have a good season, don't pick another one. Usually there's, pretty decent defense available. Most teams only pick one. If there's a decent defense that you like, maybe in the late rounds, and you don't like anyone else, pick them. Maybe you can trade them. They have a good season, but I would just stick to one. But it's up to you.
Yeah, a little info about that. Last year, in our league, somehow 49ers defense, as you said, had the best fantasy defensive season. We're left on waiver wires after the draft. Anyway, that's all the time we have right now. Cutting to a quick commercial break. Here's a word from our sponsors.